So now why is it that most people who set financial goals for themselves to become financially free or to even become a millionaire never actually achieve those goals? Why is that? Well, I submit to you that it's because of this. There are two parts to becoming a millionaire, to becoming financially free. And you do the first part really well. I call it the pretty part, the being part. The being part is, hey, I can go out and say I want to be a millionaire. I can announce it to the world. I can say it on my social media outlets. I can speak it into existence. You're okay with that part, but you don't want to deal with the real part. You don't want to go into the trenches and deal with the ugly part. I call that part the becoming part. The becoming part is where the challenge lies. That's where the hard work is. That's where the tests are. That's where the adversity is. That's the trenches. And you don't want to go down there, so you don't get the results that you want to get. You don't become financially free. You don't become a millionaire because you're not willing to go into those trenches. Well, that's what I'm going to deal with today. I'm going to show you in the trenches, starting off at zero and going to $300,000 in a 3-year period in the stock market. So one of the first things I had to do was realize that I was operating a failed plan, a plan that would not allow me to achieve the goal that I had set. You see, I had set a goal to become a millionaire, but my actions didn't align with someone who was wanting to become a millionaire. You see, because I made money and I spent money. But what I realized is that it is not about making money, because I had my focus, my mind was always geared around making money. And I did that. I made money. But the question is not how much money you make. The question should be, how much do you keep? And when I changed my mind to see it in that way, when it was more so about how much money I kept out of what I made, then I started to make a transformation in my life, in my financial life, to go from zero to $300,000 in a matter of 3 years, simply by understanding the fact that it's not necessarily just about how much money you make. It's about how much you keep out of what you make. So if you would, come on inside. I'm going to show you exactly how I have my money invested, what I have that money invested in, how I've grown that money over the last 3 years. I'm going to show you exactly what it is that I'm invested in. That way you can see it for yourself, you can know how it works, and then you can decide whether or not it's something that you're interested in doing. But know this for sure, in my humble opinion, if you're serious about becoming a millionaire, you see, it's a lot of people who say that. It's a lot of people who talk the talk that I'm going to become a millionaire. But very few people go out and do that. But if you're serious about becoming a millionaire, then to me, you must invest. How can we not invest in some of the best companies in the world? We miss out on those opportunities right in front of us because of different excuses we use, like I'm afraid or I don't understand it. Well, those are excuses in my opinion, because I use those same excuses. I don't understand it. I don't know enough about it to put my money in it. I'm going to put my money in myself. I'm going to do this with real estate or whatever it is. But how could you miss the opportunity to invest in the best companies in the world when you live here, right here in the United States? These companies are right here under your nose. You have the opportunity to invest in them. And if you do like me for a long time, you don't take that opportunity. So if you're not invested, in my opinion, in some of the best companies in the world, how can you be serious about becoming a millionaire? So when I'm basically changed my thinking to see it, to understand that I had to invest in these companies, that's when things started to change for me. So what I want to do today is to go into my portfolio, and I'm going to show you how I've gone from zero to over $300,000 in a matter of a 3-year period. So come on inside, sit back, relax, and enjoy this video. Now let's get down to the business. Why do I invest in the stock market? Well, let's take a look at the stock market in and of itself. What is it? It's a place where a common citizen, a person like you and me, can go and buy ownership in companies, go and buy parts of those companies. You can buy those companies in what is referred to as stocks or shares of the company. Then it's about buying more and more shares. When we buy those shares, when these companies do well, we get a return on our investment. The stock market has averaged about a 10% return over the last 100 years. That's pretty solid in my opinion. We only have so many investments that we can make to earn a return on our money. One of those investments is the stock market. Another is a business. Another is real estate. What I think you should do is combine all three of those and do parts or each of those in order to get the most out of your portfolio, diversified portfolio. But I certainly think a part of your money should be in the stock market. It has a proven track record over a long period of time. What do I mean when I say investing in the stock market? I don't mean trading. I don't mean going in and trying to pick out which is the best company, because I don't have that type of skill. I don't have those type of resources to play on that level, so I don't play on that level. I play with the stock market. I don't bet against it. It has a proven track record over 100 years. So I am going to go and I'm going to bet that the stock market is going to do what it usually does. That's gain about an average of 10%. There are risks involved with investing. That comes with the territory. So what are you comfortable with when it comes down to risk? What is your risk tolerance? That is the question that you have to ask yourself. What I'm comfortable with is I have 95% of my money in stocks and I have 5% of my money in bonds. So I am in a growth mindset. I'm not, concerned about the now necessarily. I am investing for the long term. And what the long term tells us is that if you invest over a long period of time, then you usually get very good results. You get what the market returns. I can live with that. So that is why I invest. I invest in companies in America and outside of America. I am a national and international investor because things have changed now. And when things change, we have to change our strategy. Change the things that we're focused on. So my portfolio is no longer just U.S. companies. I now invest about 30% of my money in international companies. I do that inside of index funds. Index funds are betting with the market, saying that the market is going to do what it's going to do. Very simple. There's no me saying I'm the great trader and I got to go in and pick the right company. No, I just go in and get the entire haystack. I don't look for the company in the haystack. I go get the entire haystack, and now I have all of the companies like the S&P 500. For example, I get to invest in all of those companies, the top 500 companies in the United States of America, the S&P 500 index fund, VFIAX, if you're looking under Vanguard. That's a fund that replicates the S&P 500. It does exactly what the S&P 500 does. I want to pose something to you really quickly. Think about it for a minute. You have an Apple phone, and you think Apple is a great company. And Apple goes out and they do some really good work and they make a whole lot of money. And you just buy Apple phones. Well, that's okay. But what's better to me is to invest in Apple. So when Apple does well, I get a piece of that pie. How do I do that? Inside of the S&P 500. Or you could go direct and buy Apple. I don't suggest that you do that. I buy the index fund, where Apple is also inside of that index fund. This is about building over a long period of time. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, we want to get there a lot faster than slower. How do you get there faster? Well, in order to get there faster, you got to put more money in. And that is what it's all about, putting the money in. It's not really about what the return is. The return will be what the return is. But the more you put in, then the more you're going to make on your money. So it's about putting it in, feeding the beast. Now, of course, we know past performance is no guarantee of future results, but we do have it as a very good indicator. I trust in that. I trust that if I continue to put that money in, I'll gain a return on my money. Because let's just face it, saving does not work by itself. Yes, you'll have an emergency fund, but your and my job is to grow dollars. We are at about a 5% inflation rate right now. So we can afford to just put money in savings accounts because they're not making any money. So you're actually losing money just on inflation alone. This is why we invest. Investing, in my opinion, is not optional. It's a way of life for those of us who seek financial freedom. So now I'm going to take you inside my portfolio and show you the details. Okay, so we've hopped into my portfolio now. What I want you to notice here, it says advisor managed 211,000, self-managed 63,000, outside estimated 53,000. That's just an outside account that I have with additional investments in it. Now we're going to deal with today just the 211,000. I'm going to show you exactly what's in it, how it works. It's the advisor managed funds. It cost me 0.003% to have an advisor manage these funds. And to me, it's a no-brainer with all that comes with it, the guidance that comes with it. You know, they're managing the portfolio, the rebalancing and all of that stuff. They handle that. So I like to have that option. With this amount of money that I have under management, it costs me about $130 a quarter to manage this kind of money. So that's not a whole lot of money at all, in my opinion. So I like having some of my funds managed by professional advisors in Vanguard. Now, what you'll see here is these are all of the funds that make up my portfolio. I start out here with VMFXX. That's Vanguard Federal Money Market Fund. All I do with this is just transfer money into it, let it sit there until I'm ready to disperse it amongst the funds that I'm actually putting the money into. So this is just like a holding fund, a temp fund that I'm putting money into until it's ready to be dispersed. The next funds that you'll see are bond funds. And remember, I only have about 10% right now. I'm moving to about 5% is what I'll ultimately want invested in bond funds. So I'm not going to have a whole lot of money invested in these bonds, but you'll see VFIDX. That's a Vanguard Intermediate Term Investment Grade Fund, Admiral shares, and VFSUX, Vanguard Short-Term Investment Grade Fund, Admiral shares, another bond. And then you'll see Vanguard Total Bond Market, ETF. That's another bond fund, okay? Now, after that, you'll notice that we have BNDX, which is also an international bond fund. And we have Vanguard Total International Stock Index Fund. That's VXUS. VXUS. Vanguard Total International Stock. If you remember, I told you that I have an almost 30% exposure, a little bit over 30% exposure to international stocks. Next, we're going to see in here that this is a Vanguard Value ETF, VTV. So these are the stocks or the mutual funds that I should say, and the ETFs, the bond funds that I have in the first account that I'm showing you here. And this is the managed funds that are managed by Vanguard. Next, we have VXF. This is a Vanguard Extended Market ETF. Then we have VMFXX, Vanguard Federal Money Market Fund. That's another fund that we use just to transfer in and out of. $2,000 is in there now, needs to be transferred out. So what happens with that is the manager will come in and move that money. I just put it in and the manager moves it and put it where it should go based on the allocation that we've set. Next up, we have VUG, Vanguard Growth ETF. Then we have VIGAX. That's a Vanguard Growth Index Fund, Admiral shares. Now this is a mutual fund, a tech-heavy mutual fund. And then we have a VGT. Now this is a tech-heavy ETF. So why would we have tech on the mutual fund side and the ETF side? Well, when you're choosing a ETF, you don't have to pay the $3,000 up front to get into the fund like you would have to on a mutual fund. You can buy ETF just like you buy one share of stock. And sometimes the ETF may have a cheaper expense ratio. So that's why we choose ETFs and mutual funds. Just depends on what's going on. Then we have VMVAX. That's a Vanguard Mid-Cap Value Fund. That's an index fund, Admiral shares. Then we have VOO. That's Vanguard S&P 500 Index. That's another large cap fund. You'll notice that we have about $14,000 in that fund. VGT is another large cap. We have $17,000 in that fund. And then you'll see Vanguard Small Cap Index Fund. Now these are small companies and they have more room to grow.
So we have an exposure to these companies. I think this is a small cap blend fund as opposed to a small cap value fund. This is a blend, I think, a mixture of value and growth. So we have a total of about 1,600 in that, or excuse me, 6,300 in that small cap blend. Then we have a VXUS, Vanguard Total International Stock Index Fund. Remember, we have about a 30% exposure to international stocks. VTI, that's Vanguard Total Stock Market. That is going to give you some of the S&P 500 and then some additional companies on top of that. Then we have VTSAX. That's a Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. Now, there's going to be some similarities between these, VTSAX and VTI. I have both of these because VTSAX is going to give me some exposure to some small caps as well. I think there's about 3,800 stocks in the Vanguard Total Stock Market as opposed to 500 stocks or companies in the S&P 500. So it's going to give you some more diversity there with your VTSAX. And then we're going to have some repeats of these in some other accounts as well, because sometimes you're going to have the same funds, but you're just going to have them in different accounts because you can fund or put more money in those accounts because you can only put so much money in each of your tax shelters, your tax shelter accounts. Then you see that we have VTV, that's a Vanguard Value ETF. And then we have VVIAX. That's a Vanguard Value Index Fund. And then next and finally, we're on our last account here, our last tax sheltered account. This is VXF, Vanguard Extended Market. And then we have VMFXX. That's Vanguard Federal Money Market Fund. Again, that's just a fund that we transfer money in and out of. Then we have VFSUX, Vanguard Short-Term Investment Grade Fund Admiral Shares. That's another bond fund. Then we have BND. You saw that bond fund earlier in one of the funds that were before this one. And we have VXUS. That's Vanguard Total International Stock Index Fund. You see some repeats here. We have about $69,000 in that International Stock Index Fund. And then we have VTI again, Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. So we have a mixture of ETFs and mutual funds, index funds. We have some diversity there. And then you want to know how well your funds are performing, how well your portfolio is performing. So we will take a look at this here. It says January 22nd to June 30th, 2021, our starting balance is $169,000. Contributions and withdrawals, $23,000. Investment returns about $16,000, market gains and losses about $14,000, income returns $1,400, and our management fees $132. And now we have a total balance in this account of $208. You saw $211 out there. Those are just funds that haven't been processed as yet. Now, so we have $208 in this particular account, and you look here and you say, of the money that you have contributed to this account, what kind of returns are you getting? Well, we've contributed $23,000 in this account approximately, and our investment returns is about $16,000. Now, if I look at my overall portfolio from the time we started this account in August 2018 to today, 2021, we've made almost $70,000 on our investments. So that's a clear reason as to why we have to invest. Investing is a requirement. It's a way of life for those of us who are seeking financial success. $70,000 is pretty good in my book. So that's why I think investing is not optional. It's a way of life. It's mandatory if you want to achieve financial success.
So now if you notice, I didn't go into detail on each ETF, mutual fund, bond fund to explain exactly what it was. That's the easy part. All you have to do is put in a ticker symbol and then you can go and research those funds on your own. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I certainly hope this information has been helpful. If you have not found what it is that you're interested in doing, I'm going to leave a link in the description. It's my free 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works. It'll give you a look into what I do on a day in and day out basis. You'll get to come into my office and watch over my shoulder as I move loads, talk to shippers, talk to carriers. That way you can get a really good idea of exactly how the business works before you decide to come into it. And also, if you want to learn all about how freight brokers get their customers, how they get the shippers that they work with, I'll leave a free video here as well. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.